Hey everybody, before we get started with today's episode, I just wanted to let you know that if you didn't know, did you know that you could save 20% off your purchase from Arcadia Publishing? That's right, you can use checkout code Haunted Vermont and get 20% off your entire order. Otherwise, you can use our special link, arcadiapublishing.com/Haunted Vermont and purchase through there. Any way will help support not only Arcadia Publishing, but it will also support us here at Haunted Vermont. Now, enjoy the program. Welcome everybody to another episode of Beyond Haunted Vermont. My name is Paul Doskin, and joining me is author, investigator, and all things spooky, I guess, is Heather Woodward. So, and she is an author for a book called Area, Kansas, from the History Press. And I basically found out about Heather's work here because of Arcadia Publishing, and once again, I just want to thank Arcadia for their hospitality of helping me out, finding these awesome people that love the strangeness just like myself. But other than that, Heather, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So Heather, before we begin the journey of everything of this weird realm that we can even, I don't even know, scratch the surface of, per se. Tell us a little bit about yourself, I guess, and how did you kind of get your foot into the, I guess, for lack of a word, in the mysterious beyond?
Well, I started when I was young. I've always been kind of into it. I am a writer, podcaster, investigator. I read tarot for a living, and I do mediumship work. So I've always been in the realm. My whole family is psychic. My dad used to take me to go look for Bigfoot for hikes when we were kids. Like, one of the first books I was gifted when I was about 12 years old was, I forget what they're called, but like one of those black books, and they were kind of velvety, and they were like the mysteries of the world. Like, I think it's called The Mysteries of the Paranormal or something like that, that there was like a whole series, and was really, really into it. And then my dad once got me a book on the pyramids on Mars. And I was like, I'm sold. This is my life now. I don't think he meant it to be like that, but that's kind of what happened. And then from there, I kind of let go of it for a little while. And then in my 20s, I'm like, okay, I'm picking it back up. And started an investigation team, started doing investigating, and then just never stopped. That was like 20-something years ago. But I've done it by myself with teams here, there. I have a podcast about it too. So, but the podcast is whatever I want it to be about. So sometimes it's about tarot, sometimes it's about my experiences, and then sometimes it's about conspiracy theories too, because gotta love those. Gotta put your tinfoil hat on. So yeah.
Yeah, I saw that real quick. Not to cut you off, Heather, but yeah, let's do a plug for that. So your podcast is like NVUS Alien or something like that?
NVUS Alien, yeah.
NVUS, okay. I was wondering if I was pronouncing it wrong or something, or if I was just, just not looking at it in the correct perspective.
Everybody does that, yeah.
That's awesome, though. I'll have to check it out, though, for sure.
Yeah, it's got stuff about everything. I mean, like I said, I've been into forest paranormal stuff, like tall man entities. People see
kind of like Slender Man. Sorry.
Yeah, like Slender Man, but they're tall men, and I don't know. A lot of people are seeing them right now, and so I've been kind of talking to people who have had those experiences. And then I talked to somebody about Bigfoot, and then we got into the tall man, and he was saying that a lot of the things that people are seeing that they think are Bigfoot are actually this other thing. But anything that's big and tall in the forest automatically is Bigfoot. But he said that a lot of times it's not. It's just attributed to that. So I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's already starting to catch my attention. Okay.
Yeah. So I've been talking about that a lot lately because I had an experience a few years ago, and then I just kind of blew it off. And then I realized that other people were having the same experience. And then there were things that I had forgotten about, other experiences in other forests that I've had. And I just started to see a pattern of like, wait a minute, there is this phenomenon in the forest that nobody is talking about. So I've been talking about that a lot lately. Before that, I was totally going down conspiracy theories, like anything that was conspiracy. But like I said, it kind of it goes wherever I go.
No, that's great. I'm glad you kind of brought that up because I'll share something real quick. So before I started like this haunted Vermont thing and really started to do my own investigation myself, and with a team when I had a team, because we kind of it's life, we kind of had work related stuff come up, and unfortunately we just had to stop doing it sort of. But I didn't want to stop doing it, so that's why I created this haunted Vermont, because I wanted to learn more about my state and everything else. But anyway, point to this that I wanted to make is back when I used to do traffic control, there was one day, I guess I'm trying to remember like the exact cause of why we were even there to begin with, but something about having to fix these lines or cables or something because this flood came through this small little town and basically washed it all away. It was from this little stream or something which flooded the town. But it was a nice blue day, and all of a sudden I just looked up in the sky and I noticed like this black dot that was just stationary. And I didn't think anything of it because obviously, news stations and stuff, they may have drones or whatever trying to do like a newscast. But later on throughout the day, that thing is still there. And I kind of make a note of it and then I shrug it off. Well, anyway, we finally go to lunch. 30, 45 minutes later, I come back, don't even think anything of it. And then next thing I know, I was just like, oh, there it is. It's still there. Wait a minute. This thing has been there since whenever we arrived. And even when we went back to lunch or took a lunch break and then came back, it's still here. That's weird. So anyway, it still stayed there. So by the time we got done with the day, my partner was able to come toward me. But prior to that, I was trying to radio to him, and I was trying to be like, hey, since you're a little bit closer, like, because, he was down so many, et cetera, lanes, I'll say, for lack of, but, so he should have been able to see it, though, because he was closer to where I thought it would be better for a view. And he couldn't see it for some reason. So I was just like, okay, well, if it's still there, by the time you and I can get together, I'm going to point it out to you. And so we finish up, wrap up. We finally get a chance to get together, and it's still there. So I go to point. I said, yeah, it's right there. But as I get my finger up to point at it, that's when it takes off.
It took off?
It took off.
Where did it go?
So that's the thing. It didn't just like disappear or fade out. It like casually moved away. And so I did some research later on in life because I figured maybe it was a drone. I didn't think anything of it for years. And this was 2009. if memory served me right. Anyway, my partner who saw it sadly passed away in 2016, so I can't have his validation to the story anymore. So I'm only keeping it alive by myself. But basically, back in 2022, there was a podcast that did a call in, and this guy called in from Connecticut, and he was talking about seeing this black dot in the sky, but he was taking pictures of it. But his, when it finally like went away, his actually faded. It didn't move out. It didn't move away or anything like mine did. So that's got me thinking again. I'm like, maybe I did see something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, to this day, I don't know if it was a drone or a UFO, UAP, whatever you want to call it nowadays. But
Right.
but it was just weird, and just the fact that, what was that, 14 years later? Yeah, 14 years later, I hear somebody else kind of describe a black dot. So it kind of like you, it kind of made me rethink. So I love when that
Yeah.
happens.
So yeah, I'm putting together a documentary right now, and I have footage from 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going through the footage, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm talking about this tall man in Tennessee. Now I'm in Arkansas. Wait a minute, we're talking about the tall man again. What's going on here? Like, I totally forgot. And then I watched me doing an SD session,
Mm-hmm.
and the tall man, like, I take off my headphones, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And the person that was with me was like, yeah, I saw it. I just didn't want to like tap you out because I didn't want to freak you out. But yeah, there's something here, and I totally feel it. And I was like, oh my God, it just touched me, and I freaked out. And then I was like, okay, that's 3 times. Like, why am I not like putting things together here? But it's like they're separate they're separate incidences at separate times. So I didn't really like, I don't know. It was one of those things where you're like, well, moving on. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really think about
I
it.
totally get it. Yeah.
And then like I'm talking about it, and then my friend who did the Estes, I messaged him and I say, hey, do you remember that? And he's like, yeah, but like, do you remember that I had one of those in my forest too? And I'm like, wait a minute, why are we not talking about this? He's like, yeah, I had a similar experience in the cemetery, but outside my house. And he's like, I was trying to figure out. Yeah, I know. And he's like, I was trying to figure out if the thing when we went to your house and did the Estes, I was trying to figure out it was a thing if I brought it from my house or was in your woods. And I was like, wait a minute, wait. Why are 5 years later? Why are we talking about this now? Like, this should have been like something we talked about when we were
right
like,
then and there.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, it just didn't really cross my mind. And I was like, okay, all right. And then later on, I find out that actually you told me about it. You said, you messaged me and you said, hey, do you think that thing in the woods was Dogman? And I went back and read it, and I was like, that's another thing in the forest that I saw or experienced and didn't put it together. And that's in another place. And then I had 3 other people who I talked to at conventions tell me a story similar about a thing in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
They saw that was very tall. One of them said that it had red eyes. One of them said that it had antlers, but the same situation, some tall creature out in the forest. Sometimes it chases you out in the forest. Sometimes it hovers. Sometimes it just messes with your SD session. I don't know. And I was like, what is going on here? And then one of my other friends said that she's like, well, I never experienced it like you guys. I don't know what's going on. She's like, yeah, but I was kind of, I was having an experience, and she's like, I kept seeing something, and it kind of reminded me of like Anubis, because we're like, she's really into archetypes and she's really into deities, and she's like, and we're all into witchcraft and stuff like that. So like, somebody's telling me that is like no big deal because like that happens, like the deities come forward or the archetype of the deity comes forward. And then she's like, wait a minute. Because I was telling her about this interview and I said, well, yeah, do you remember when I was telling you about the thing that I saw in the forest? Somebody thinks it's Dogman. And she goes, wait a minute, Dogman. And she goes, isn't Anubis like a dog? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh shit, I think I might be having the phenomenon, just calling it something else because that's what I'm used to. And I was like, yeah, because somebody else said that the thing was on all fours and then it stood up and it became a tall man.
Interesting.
So and these I'm not talking like all in the same area. We're talking Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and California. People have experienced this.
Wow. Yeah. So I was reading that section since we're on the topic of Dogman for a minute. So yeah, I was reading that haunted hour section in your book, and when it got to the point of you talking about even ancient burials, I think it was like native burials and stuff like that, and and the Cherokee outlet basically, which I didn't know what that meant, like an area where they settled, or maybe like a burial mound around there or something like that. But then it kind of was quickened to me of like, well, most of the time when you hear about the dogmen, they are around cemeteries. And if you go back to like what you were saying with Anubis and stuff, there's another one that I just had to remember how to even pronounce. So now I'm really hoping I'm not going to butcher it. Webwawet. Webwawet. And he was like a god of the Egyptian, kind of similar to Anubis, but he was more like a warrior. He how did they describe it? Like he was the creator of pathways.
Ooh, so that's interesting. Okay.
So I'm kind of glad I'm having this conversation right now because I'm just reading about this guy, about this god, this Egyptian god, Webwawet. Wepwawet. What a spelling, but anyway, yeah. So when I found out this, I said, "Oh my God, this makes sense." And then the more you dig into it, with these burial mounds and like what this Webwawet is supposed to present, not just by a warrior or creating pathways, but like if it involved even like a pharaoh or a king, it's how do they word it? It was like creating a pathway for them so they could like almost conquer or just go to safety. I think it was the way of how it was trying to word. It was really interesting, but again, it goes into, well, if we look at this weird phenomena, the dogman, they're pretty much around native burials, whether something bad happened. And I guess what I mean by that is, and I don't know how much you know of the area, I'm assuming you would know, but where this area is, though, where the Cherokee outlet is, do you know, was there like a war there? Because like most of the time when I'm thinking, when it comes to natives, if there's a war and natives were killed, would this maybe create this Webwawet to basically become like a fighter for the land, therefore it's guarding the land, and if we were to trespass or something, it's almost like they think we're maybe they're thinking we're more of a threat to the land, or maybe because of what has happened there as far as like battles, I'll just say. Maybe the reason why we hear about the aggressive encounters sometimes, it's more of the instinct of a warrior. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah.
Makes perfect sense. Which is interesting because I've had people who tell me that it's predatory or that it ran them off. But then I've never had that experience. But then I'm very good at like honoring the land, you know. I'm very
Yeah.
much about respect. And we're doing this. Like I see you. Chill. We're good. We're good. And so I get followed, but I never get chased off. But specifically the area where what's in my book, area
Hmm.
Arkansas, Trail of Tears goes through here. So the the place where I'm talking about is part of that area. So Trail of Tears went through Arkansas and Oklahoma. So there's lots of that trauma here specifically, and then on top of that, the area that I saw this thing in Fayetteville. It's Fayetteville, Arkansas, but and it's where the U of A is. We don't talk about this, but there were a lot of indentured servants. You know what I mean? Like, and one of the last parts of the revolution, not the revolution, the Confederate War, the about slaves and stuff like that, was all through here. And so we have a lot of battlegrounds, and just in that area, the Confederate cemetery is like down the street from it, like it's walking distance. And there's an interesting story about that cemetery in particular, because it wasn't supposed to be there. The Daughters of the Confederacy made sure that they put a cemetery there, because they were just leaving the Confederates. Once the Union won, they left the Confederate soldiers on the side of the road, and they weren't going to even try to bury them or even identify them. And the Daughters of the Confederacy were like, well, first of all, they started it, and then they were like, yeah, that's not cool. We're all Americans. All of these people still have families, and nobody knows where their dead is. And so they paid these scavengers to go, I think it was like 50 cents a body, to bring all the Confederates, bring all the Confederate soldiers back. And then they crowdfunded to build this cemetery. And this is like...
Sorry. I just want to make sure I'm getting the right cemetery. This is the Confederate Soldier Cemetery, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was getting confused with, I think it was right here, East Mountain Cemetery. Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure.
Well, the cemetery is across the street.
Okay. Oh.
It's all in the same area. It's the Haunted Hollow is. I thought we found the Haunted Hollow, and the Haunted Hollow was actually up the street, about a quarter mile. So it's all in the same area. We didn't mean to even know about any of this stuff. We went for one thing and then found all these other things. Me and my friends.
I love when that happens.
But yeah, I found all this information about the the Confederate cemetery, because I was like, why is this here? It seems really off. But yeah, so they went through and they started identifying people, and then there's a lot of unknown soldiers there too, because nobody could figure out who they were, because if you didn't have identification and nobody like came to find your body, then you're basically screwed, because the Union and the government wanted nothing to do with it. So again, you can thank women for that, because they're like, no, that's not how we do things here. And they actually went and they did all of it themselves and had the cemetery built. And so if you think about that, if you have the Trail of Tears coming through, and then you have, that cemetery there of all these people, like all these displaced bodies there, it is kind of a strange breeding ground for, like you said, something like Dogman or the Tall Man or something. I could see a warrior energy coming in there and being like, yeah,
exactly. Yeah, because it makes sense. And because should pull it up just to be on the safe side. But yeah, he would mainly because I know there was a theory that the Weepwowet was supposedly the brother of Anubis, but then they're saying no, that can't be right. So
Yeah, that's interesting though too, because Anubis is about the underworld.
yeah, guarding it and judging the souls by
Right.
the heart and the fetter. Whereas, oh, here we go. Whereas Anubis and Webawet are both considered. I'm gonna probably butcher this word, so I apologize to everybody. It's like funeral, but it's like funerary canine
Yes.
god.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they also say that the Webawet is associated with the active, quote, opening of pathways and war, whereas Anubis is more closely tied to mummification.
Right.
So, but I also thought right here, his role was basically a guide for the dead, and he was a scout for the king, where he would clear paths during military campaigns and royal procession. So if he's an opener of ways, that makes me wonder again, like, so it sounds like if he is a scout, then he can literally open pathways to scout, and then I guess, do I want to say divide and conquer in a way? Like that's interesting though, nonetheless.
Or maybe just opening pathways to wherever you need to go. And that's interesting because a lot of the work that we were doing around that time 5 years ago was path work. It was about there's a goddess called Ellen of the Ways, and of the Ways is the most important part because she opens pathways to she opens portals to fairy worlds and to other realms. And she's a long lost she's almost like we have I never say it right, Canirnos. We have the god of the woods gods, with the antler, like Pan, all those, and Dionysus and all these. We have all these gods, right, that are of the forest. They're the divine masculine is how we call it. And so we were working with that energy because we were in the forest a lot. And like, well, if we're having these experiences in the forest, we might as well call on that energy. But then because of that, you have to have a mask. With the masculine, you have to have a feminine. And so we were working a lot with Ellen of the Ways because she was like a long lost goddess of the forest. So like she's literally the opposite energy of like Pan or Dionysus or Canirnos or all of those energies, right? And so we were using her as like when we were doing rituals and stuff, we were using her as the opposite. But it would make sense that there is some kind of pathway happening here because she's a pathway goddess. That's what she does. But now you're telling me there's an Egyptian pathway god that is of war, and that would make so much sense though, because like you have to blaze the path, right? That's kind of like Mara's energy in a way, which is the more masculine energy, whereas she would like show you other realms, which is purely feminine, and then this divine god of war would be showing you the masculine path, which is to divide and conquer. But it's so interesting because all this happens in the forest, and it's only in certain areas. Like you have to have certain things too. I notice it's usually in cemeteries or areas where ritual is done. And cemeteries, you wouldn't think ritual is done in cemeteries, but absolutely is, because the act of burying somebody is a ritual. So it is a ritual ground. Or these places all have other people do rituals. Like a lot of these places, I hear that like the people talk. They're like, oh yeah, they do devil worship down there, but devil worship could mean anything around here in the South. You know what I mean?
No, that's normally up there. That's normally up our way.
You're right. So devil worship to me just means somebody's doing a ritual, and I never like. So there's always a ritual aspect to it. There's always running water. So there's like a tributary. Oh, there is a water table, or water converging in these places. So there always has to be a water aspect to it. When waters are gateways too, so that's kind of interesting. And then
right, because it acts like a mirror because of the reflection, if I remember right.
Yes, and also because they all converge and then they move, other places. So water is always moving. So there was always a water aspect to it. Ley lines are always like super crazy in those areas. And then the really weird one, and this is what throws everybody off, because the other ones you're like, yep, that makes sense. But the other one that I notice every single place that I have seen this or experienced this, and other people have experienced this. Well, there's always trauma in the area too, some kind of trauma. But the big one, the weird one, is that there is either a nuclear power plant or some kind of heavy electrical plant around. So there's some kind of strange energy source that's man-made. And every single situation. I mean, like, I've asked these questions. People are like, yeah, like one person was like, yeah, there's an electrical power plant like a half mile down the road. I'm like, okay. Even when I saw it in my forest, there was an electrical power plant down the street, because I was in a very wooded area, and that was the power for that whole area. In other places, nuclear power plants are like down the street or within 30 minutes away, and they're always on the water. So those moving waterways through these areas are being powered, or it's powering the nuclear power plant. And for whatever reason, that is creating some kind of weird
battery effect.
Yeah, battery. And I don't know how or why that is such an important part of it, but it is.
I wonder. Yeah, I was just going to say real quick, because, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you thought of it this way yet, but like, I know, like with Alaska, there's a TV series called like the Alaska Triangle. Anyway, there's a specific part in their series where they're talking about this underwater black pyramid, if memory serves me right. But anyway, they were talking about how possibly this black pyramid that is underwater, that the government knows about because of, all the procedures and this and that goes on with the protecting of the area, or should I say the no trespassing and stuff like that. And that sounds familiar. Area 51. Anyway, they talk about how the UFOs, though, will go to this area and almost like recharge from this black pyramid. So could we maybe look at it if it is some sort of like charging of a battery, or the battery itself? Is it charging the environment? And if so, what in the environment is it charging? I don't know.
That's the question of all question, because the phenomenon is always similar, though. It's always these tall black figures. Sometimes one, I've heard up to three, but they're and sometimes they're on all four and they stand up. Sometimes they're not, but it's always the same phenomenon where they're staring at you, they're predatory, they're following you, they're making sure you know that they're there. And either they chase you off, and they don't chase you off, they at least follow you around. Very predatory. Like I've had an experience where I saw it. Other people have seen it. It's not like, oh yeah, I can see the periphery. No, you can see you can see things moving. The bushes move. You can see it, and you're like, what the hell is that? Sometimes you can't, but a lot of times you can. And if you move 10 feet, it'll move 10 feet. It'll move 10 feet back. So it's always watching you, but it stays just far enough away from you, just so you feel like you're being watched. Now, the people that have been chased off by it said that it just went for it. It went, but it didn't. That's the thing. It didn't try to kill anybody. It didn't try to hurt anybody. Just chase off the land. And as soon as you're off the land, it doesn't want anything to do with you. So I thought that was interesting too. But like the other things that people experience are lights Bigfoot, UFOs. So it's not just one
thing or one
thing.
phenomena. Yeah.
Yeah, Lady in White is a big one. I don't know why. Ghosts. But it's this phenomenon where it's not just one thing that's happening there, but for whatever reason, in these areas that these things are happening, it's happening a lot. And it's just in this one small area, and then everywhere else in the forest, it's fine. And I know you talked about Slenderman, and it's interesting because a few years ago, I did some interviews about people about the Slenderman case. And I did an interview with somebody who knows those forests really well. And there are all kinds of weird phenomena that happen where the Slenderman was seen from the kids. And that whole, like, trying to kill somebody is in that same area where all this phenomenon is happening. And there's tons of water there. There's all kinds of stuff in that forest, especially in the particular spot where this thing happened. So there is some kind of trauma point in that area. There's ghosts, there's Bigfoot sightings, there's tons of water in that area. Lots of ley lines, all kinds of stuff. This guy was telling me all about it. And then I was thinking about it just recently. I was like, what if they really did see some tall, dark figure in that forest? What if they didn't make it up? What if they're seeing the phenomenon that I know people are experiencing in the forest? And what if that cinched it for them? You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's what happened, but I am saying that it's very eerily similar to some of the other experiences that I've had, people that I know have had, and the stories that I've been hearing. So it just makes you wonder, you know what I mean? Like, they just happen to go into this forest where we have all of these things. And I guess that area, one of my friends has been there, and she said, oh yeah, there's waterways everywhere. That whole place is like butted up against all this water. There's a ton of cemeteries there. There's a ton of old trauma in that forest.
Right.
You know,
We can.
power
I
plants.
wonder.
Yes, we have it because we have a lot of water.
Right. I don't know why, but this is now starting to make me want to bring in the topic of. I'm making sure this is the right state before I say it, but everybody knows it as the land between the lakes or land between the rivers, depending on who you.
I'm just reading about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting because when you look at that, though, you hear about this land that's not even supposed to even have this water flow. Really, it's all because of a flood that happened and pretty much wiped out this colony or community, I should maybe say. But anyway, when you look at the area, once again, there's burial mounds. It sounds like some sort of mining or logging, or if not both, was going around. But the point to this, though, is once again, we get water in play. We got native burials. We got this weird, just dark history that happened here. And now we have the dogmen, Bigfoot, and the whites are missing people. And oh my God, like Land Between the Lakes is just the most bizarre thing. And then we got this supposed. What year was that again? Oh God, I'm gonna butcher that too. Probably 1982, I think, where supposedly this family of 4 was slaughtered by this dogman or canine or something. And but when you try to look into this story of this family that got slaughtered and massacred, you can't find anything. Therefore, people think it's the government trying to cover it up. And then the more you look down into the rabbit hole of dogmen, people will kind of go into the theory that dogmen is basically a government experience that went wrong and they escaped. So therefore, if we go back to your theory with this nuclear plant and everything else, is that because they were, I hate the word saying program, but I mean, I don't know any other thing to say except for that, well, maybe were they kind of trained to find or seek out these like nuclear power plants or something?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a UFO person, but I definitely know that there is a correlation between UFOs and nuclear power plants. I mean, I used to live right next to in Spring Valley. I used to live up this 5 miles away from Rocketdyne, and there are so many UFO accounts that happen in the air. It's ridiculous. It's like if you live in that area, you're like UFO. It's like it's just everybody's seen them. It's not that big of a deal. You're like, oh yeah, I saw UFO, whatever. Anyway, because it's so common there, so there is some kind of like correlation, and I'm not sure what the correlation is. Really, nobody really knows, but it has
No.
to do like you said, with energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder if like these things sort of happen there because they're, like when you're trying to make a ghost, right? You need trauma. First of all, you need a place that has trauma, and then you need a battery or an energy source, and then you need some kind of constant. We need to be talking about the thing a lot. We need visitors. We need constant reinforcement for that thing, right? And I just wonder if some of these areas just are like that. They're just soft spots. They have the ley lines, they have the energy, and they have the water. The water is the continual movement. And then we have people that are doing ritual there because they feel it and they experience it. And so they wonder what it is, and then that's that constant stuff. And people come visit and then looking for things. And, I always say that
It's the intention, I think, behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. Paranormal people, we create our own phenomenon. That's my big thing right now. Is like we are never we never are just experiencing it. We create it as we're experiencing it because without us, it can't happen. And so as soon as you start looking at the paranormal, you are now becoming the paranormal. You are now the phenomenon. And so it's like a mirror. Yeah. So, and I truly believe that most haunted locations are just thought forms. They're just thought forms of all the investigators that came in there and decided that's what they saw, and that's how it happens. So, like half of a lot of places I go, like 90% of the ghosts in a place, they're not real. They're not real people. They're not real anything. It's just stories that have been passed down, and then investigators go and they interact with it, and they're just adding energy to it. And so you're really just talking to something you've created. So I find it to be absolutely hilarious. So people are like, oh yes, I'm experiencing this thing. And I'm like, you're just experiencing yourself. Have fun with that. So I'm always looking for like what's behind it. My last book was really about that. What was it? Forgotten. I don't remember the name of my own book. But anyway, it's about forgotten places and ghost towns and forgotten places in Northwest Arkansas. There it is. But yeah, what happened was I went looking for forgotten places, and then I just was like, wait a minute, what's happening here is I'm going to these places, and I'm realizing that all the phenomenon is not real. What's forgotten, the actual people that freaking live there, that's what's forgotten. And that's what I started to write about, because I was like, you go ahead and have your ghost hunt. I'm going to go and find the people, and that's who I'm going to talk to. But anyway, that was a total tangent. But the whole point, if you're constantly interacting with these places, then who knows what it is? Because it could be the cemetery aspect. It could be all the people there. It could be the energy, the water, or the accumulation of all of it together. Like you definitely have to have these things. Because I went to Rush in my last book. I went to Rush, and it was the quietest mining ghost town ever. There was not one ghost there. And I was like, why? Because they actually had, they've had a lot of collapses, people dying there. It was really sad. But I went there and I'm like, there's not a ghost here. There's not one ghost here. Why? We have water, we have forest, we have trauma. Why? Because nobody goes there to look for ghosts. Why? Nobody goes there to look for ghosts. So like, Of course, and also there's no power plant there. There's no electricity there. I mean, literally, there's not even cell towers in that area. So I just thought it was kind of interesting that we have everything that we need for the phenomenon except for two things: no experiencers and no electricity or nuclear power.
Yeah, for when it comes to this thing, yeah, I totally agree with that. But yeah, that makes me now want to take a deeper dive of these areas more to see if nuclear plant or some sort of power plant or something is nearby. Because then that would explain a little bit more about the area for sure. Besides just like we've been mentioning, like trauma burials, basically blood soaked into the ground. We could almost say like Gettysburg, per se, with all that bloodshed that happened there.
Yeah, Gettysburg is a perfect example. Like,
yeah,
there's gonna be ghosts there. There's no way there. There's so much blood in that soil. I'd be surprised if, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a place where the trauma probably created some kind of fissure in the literal landscape of the place. You know what I mean? Like the ethereal landscape of the place. There's no way.
Totally. Yep. Yeah. Man, I'm trying to figure out how we can maybe, I don't know. I can't think of anything of how much more I would want to go into this haunted Howard thing unless there's anything out that I didn't bring up, Heather, for that subject.
The haunted Hollow?
Yeah.
It was such a weird place. The other thing, too, that was really strange about that place is that the trees twisted. They didn't grow straight up. The branches twisted. I always thought that was really interesting. I just looked at some. I'm actually going back in a couple weeks there because we're gonna start filming there for the doc because I'm like, this is another place. I know it is. I saw something there and I didn't think of it until later. So whatever. But the one thing is I was looking through pictures and I was like, all the branches are twisted. They're not growing straight. They I don't know. It was so interesting. And I'm like, there's literally the landscape is the trees are reacting to the energy of this place.
Interesting.
And the other thing too is that there's a river that goes through there, or a creek, I guess, but it goes to a river. On one side of the creek, everything grows fine. There's a weird feeling that happens when you go cross over the creek, and that's where all of the trees are growing weird. And you can literally feel the difference. Like, my friend was with me, and she's into this stuff, but she's not like an avid ghost person, investigator.
You don't have to be though. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Sometimes you don't have to be though.
But she was like, stand over here and then stand over here. You're gonna feel the difference. And then we started looking at the trees, and she was like, yeah, this is really strange. Like, even trees that are like in the middle, one side would be all twisted and the other side would be fine. It's like, it's the weirdest phenomenon.
Okay, you know what? I just thought of a way how we could maybe close this out too. Unless there's any other experiences you'd like to share about this area too. But so when I talked with like Dale Kazmarek, who's been doing this for 50 plus years and et cetera, one thing he brings up, whether it be how does he call it? Portal haunting, whether it be actual whatever paranormal behind it or cryptid, whatever. Sometimes just a flap. So much things going on with this flap. UFOs, cryptid, paranormal stuff, whatever. One thing that I've sort of experienced, and I'm now wondering, maybe this is how we could end this segment for like this possible Dogman thing or just Dogman in general. But anyway, have you experienced in this area that we're talking about, whether you or Kelly or whoever that's been with you, like a zone of fear where you can step in and step out, and it's almost like you're kind of like how you were describing before, where it's almost like this thing is watching you. You take you step 10 feet back, and it kind of follows you, kind of thing, to make sure like you're almost like escorting you out in a way, not like being too aggressive, I guess. So I guess what I'm trying to get is like, have you had the feeling where you stepped into an area where all of a sudden, I don't know, it's almost like a panic attack, but you step back out of it and you're fine again?
Yeah, in this area, sure. Like I said, that river was definitely like if you go past that creek or river, wherever it goes,
Okay.
you definitely feel the difference. And it's weird because in that same area, if you go a little farther down, there was a house that burned, and you can see the foundation of the house. And I was like, that's kind of interesting too. And around this house is where I experienced that thing where I'm pretty sure I wrote about it in the book, but that's where I felt that strong presence, like it was watching me. And that's what happened there. But there are plenty of places where I've gone, like specifically the one place I have to tell you though, where I had people who had never investigated with me before and they started throwing up. This was outside of Tombstone, Arizona. I used to live in Tucson, and Tombstone is about an hour and a half away. It's called Bronkow's Cabin. Have you heard of Bronkow's Cabin? It's very popular in Arizona. It's probably not popular anywhere else.
I'm going to say it's not ringing a bell for me right now, no.
Okay, well, anyway, there's this cabin out in the middle of nowhere, like literally, I'm talking nowhere. You have to go 9 miles outside of Tombstone, which is in the middle of the frickin' desert. There's nothing out there. Then you have to walk 30 minutes in the dark down this pathway. And there's mine shafts everywhere, so you have to kind of be careful because you're not really supposed to be there, but technically you are on public property. But so like you have to be careful because you're either on public property or you're on private property, so you have to kind of stay in this one little area, and that's how we used to be able to get it. Yeah, because if you move a little to the left, you're on somebody's private property, so you have to stay, but you have to like actually get around the mine shafts. So it's I don't know what we were doing up there in the middle of the night because I'm stupid, and I went there a few times. But you have to walk like 30 minutes into this desert in the middle of nowhere, and then there's this cabin, and it's up this little hill. Okay, so you go down into the riverbed, which is dry because it's Arizona and there's no water there. And then the only reason why it's there is because it snows. And so then you go up this little hill, and the cabin is on the top of this hill. Every time, I've been there 3 or 4 times, every single time. And I don't tell anybody because I just kind of wanted to see what would happen. Every time anybody got near that riverbed, people would just start freaking out. Oh my God, I don't want to go any farther. This is the worst feeling I've ever had in my whole life. People start throwing up, and then they don't want to go up the hill to the cabin. So I literally had to coax people. Like, I know you're throwing up. I know you're not feeling good, but you either go up the hill or we have to walk you back 30 minutes. So what do you want? And they're like, we're going to go up the hill. That way I can sit down. But then once you get to the cabin, it's really freaky. Like things get thrown at you and stuff. It's weird. But yeah, and that's another place where you see a lot of shadow figures. Not the tall ones that I've been talking about, but there are literally shadow figures that walk around and they throw things at you. Yeah. It's the weirdest place I've ever been investigating ever in my whole life. But just in that one area, right before you go up the hill, it's not even a big hill. It's a very small hill. But everybody, like even my mom, was like, "Oh my God, I think I'm gonna throw up." My mom went out there once with us. I don't know why. But anyway, even she was like, "Yeah, this is really uncomfortable." But it was only in that one area. Like I said, if you walk up the hill, it starts to subside once you get to the cabin. And the cabin is it's a couple walls and a base. It's not even a full cabin because it broke down, but and it was made of stone. But once you get up there, at least you're not having that feeling of throwing up, and you're not having the feeling of like literally the worst fear you've ever felt. It is the strangest thing.
Wow. Yeah, that kind of just triggered a weird flashback with me. There's a place here that's like an abandoned church that some company is using for like storage of papers or something. But anyway, long story short, really, is so I've been here multiple times. Not just to try to find ghosts. It's just mainly because it is a creepy place. But like, I used to be in a band, and that's where we went to try to go get like band photos. Well, that night we heard like this sound, like almost like a woman screaming or whatever, and we didn't think of anything of it. And of course, this is before I actually, again, totally went into this investigation stuff. But at the time, we all knew like animals can sound like a dying lady in the forest. But anyway, so we didn't think anything of it. So, but there was one time where we went there. This is October of 2011, so it makes me wonder if going at specific times of the year like triggers the environment differently. But anyway, it was almost like this zone of fear again, just like you described. I was that one that when I got out of the vehicle with my two buddies, I approached the building, but all of a sudden I couldn't go any further because I felt like I was gonna throw up. It was weird. And then my two other friends stopped because they were starting to get petrified because one of them thought they could hear almost like a sounded like something was being dragged on the wall, almost like chains or something. And one of them thought they heard this god awful growl, which I didn't hear it. No, my other friend didn't hear it, but he supposedly heard a growl. Got to the point where we just didn't stay long. We turned around, which was literally 2 feet from my car, because there's like a little area at the time you could like pull in, and that way, that way you'd just be off the road basically. But I'm not good with distance, so I'm just gonna say for the example, maybe 50 feet down the road, and you go up this hill. There's old foundations of something that used to be there. And just like this area, you got to be careful because there's cellar walls or cellar holes, and whatever up in this hill. And yeah, it's just weird. But I won't forget that because that was the only time I felt fear there. Every other time I've been there, I was completely fine, except for that possible screaming lady thing, which, again, could have been an animal.
Yeah, it is kind of weird though, right?
Yep.
The fear of it. I don't feel fear a lot in most haunted locations. Maybe I'm just immune to it. Or even if I do feel fear, I'm like, all right, that'll pass. Like I don't really think much of it. But there, like that one place I was talking about outside of it's really hard to like not feel that. There's just certain places like that where you're just like, okay. All right, it's gonna be tough. Okay, we're gonna do this though. But yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I feel that. So yeah, that just brought me back to that moment where whatever was going on that night. So yeah. All right, Heather. Well, I guess we'll shift gears for a minute. So with your area Arkansas, you have what I've also been getting into, because in a way this can tie into cryptids as well and everything else that's obviously weird about this phenomenon again. But spook lights, phantom lights, there is a similarities for sure. Most of these are around water, they're around cemeteries, they're around mines, railroad tracks is a big one. So I guess with Arkansas, and I think Dale sort of brought it up a little bit. I'm trying to remember which one he'd been to. I think it was the Dover light and then the Gordon light, I think.
There's Dover light and then there's the Joplin light, but they're really similar.
Yeah. So
I think they're separate.
What's that?
I think they're separate. The Dover light, I think, is different than the Joplin light.
Yes.
I think. Yep.
Okay. Well, I mean, it makes sense to me that they would be different.
From what
I've read. Yeah, don't quote me either.
But I think so. I'm pretty sure they're in two different places. But there's a lot of those lights around here. So just in this area, but like even in There's Superstition Mountains. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, the lights is really, it's one of those phenomenon.
Right. Now, I know you wrote, here we go. The Dover Light, Gordon Light, and I'm probably going to butcher this too. Crusette Spook Light? Crusette?
Oh, you know what? My other book I wrote about spook lights too. You're talking about the Gordon Lights. That one's in Arkansas. I know which one you're talking about. So the one I went to was actually in Oklahoma, because I have another book called Erie, Oklahoma. And I was like, when did I write about lights in the Erie, Arkansas? But I did. Because there were some really freaking weird ones there. But the one that I went to was actually it's on the
Oklahoma.
border. It's on the border of Oklahoma and what is above Missouri?
Oh, Missouri.
It's literally I'm not joking. Like when we were going down the road, we're like, oh, now we're in Missouri, and then you turn the corner, oh, we're back in Oklahoma. So it's you go back and forth between the state line as you're trying to get there.
Is that the one that was? I wonder if that's the one that Dale was talking about. The one where it might be. Oh my God! You know what? No, I don't even know if that's the one that he's talking about anymore. I'll just say it anyway because now I'm trying to remember. Because Dale, like I said, has been to quite a few places. So trying to remember everything that he talked about is hard to remember. But he did mention one where, and this is why I'm thinking this might be the place, but he talked about an experiment he did where he possibly thought it was car headlights reflecting off the mountain.
Joplin.
Okay, that's the Joplin headlight. Yeah, Joplin one. Yep, spook light. I mean, whatever.
It's called the Joplin light, the spook light. People call it the spook light, but people call it the Joplin light too.
Yeah, there's another one too, the Hornet light. I think I just read too. So it's like they really call it whatever the hell they want. So yeah.
So this spook light that I went to is interesting though, because I know why he thinks it might be headlights. From my experience, it is not though. But I can tell you why. It's because there's a road. The road that you're standing on, basically, just down this road out in the middle of freaking nowhere. There are cars that go through that area, and it goes. Okay, so you're up on this hill like this, right? And then you go down, and that's where the spook light is seen. But you literally have to go up that incline. So a lot of people thought that it's because when you go down and then you have to go back up, it kind of makes that light. You know what I mean?
Oh, like it's reflecting the light off the mountain. Yeah, okay, yeah, this is totally the same one then.
Because you're going down and then you go back up. And so as you're going down and you when you're turning like this, back up, the reflection, especially because there's a lot of clouds and there's fog there too. The fog was weird. The fog just showed up out of nowhere.
Oh, goody. And so fog again.
Yeah. So you could a lot of people think that it's that light, and then there's train tracks there too, of course. So the combination of that, you're like, oh, it's probably just a reflection. But what I saw was not lights. And I can tell you it wasn't lights because we saw cars go through that area. And I was like, okay, yeah, there's a light. I can see the light. Because before you go down, you can see the lights coming. And it does create kind of a ball. And I'm like, okay. When the fog rolls in, lights, got it. Yeah, I could totally see why people think that's what it is. However, when that spook light happened, it was the weirdest thing. I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't the same. Let me just tell you. We're standing there. And first of all, you go down. I don't know why these things always happen in the middle of nowhere, but we're in the middle of nowhere where there's literally no street names. It's all CR something, this and that. And But when we got where the spook light was supposed to happen, there are just cars on the side of the road waiting for it to happen because it happens that much.
Yeah, that often.
Yeah. So we parked, and there's people standing. Like, we parked farther down because I didn't want anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody, but there are people just sitting on the top of their cars waiting. So we went farther down, and so we just watched cars go through there, and I'm like, okay, all right, I can see that. But I can tell you this. It was the weirdest thing. The wind picked up, first of all, and I was like, there was no wind like a couple seconds ago. What the heck is happening here? And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. And the person I was with was like, it's getting a little creepy around here. You sure you want to stay? And I'm like, yeah, you felt that too, huh? And I'm like, yeah, the wind and the creepy. I'm like, just give it 5 or 10 more minutes and we'll go, I promise. So we're just standing there. And then the fog rolled in. And then I was like, what the heck is happening right now? Because that's a lot of weird that's happening all at once. And then he goes, there it is. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's right there. And we're staring at it. Going, no. This can't be happening. And then it was gone. Just like that. And there was no fog and no wind. And I was like, okay, that was weird. He's like, I don't feel that feeling anymore. And I'm like, I don't either. That was weird. So we walked around a little bit just to see like where we were and like, you know, to kind of see if the fog or the wind or any of these like weird feelings would happen, if there's anything weird around there, like, you know, if there's any EMF around that would make you feel weird or something. Or there was nothing. It's just there's the only thing out there was a cow farm.
Okay.
And that's it. And
we
were like,
I want to.
Good.
Yeah. So I want to recorrect myself. So the Joblin White is not the one that Dale was talking about as far as debunking. Okay. It was the one in Michigan, I believe. Now,
okay.
Yeah. So I just wanna recorrect that. So yeah, I did find it. I went back into his book, so okay, I wanted to make sure.
Similar. They all have very similar. But I think one of the ones that I wrote about in Erie, Arkansas, I can't remember the name. I wrote that book like 4 years ago. So, something like that. But anyway, I know there was one where like the light shows up and there's like a portal and people go missing.
Is that the Mina poltergeist? Maybe
I think it's I want to say it's the Mina one, but or it's the Gordon. I don't remember which one it is, but I thought that was really strange, though. That one.
Yeah, because this one. So, from what I see of your book, looking at it right now, I see the Dover Light, which is Dover, Arkansas, and I see the Gordon Light from Gordon, Arkansas, and like I said, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. This one right, but the Christette Spook Light.
Yeah.
I don't see anything about a portal yet, but so that makes me wonder if it is the Mina poltergeist one.
It could be in the other book too. Like I said, I wrote about lights twice. So I'm sorry. I wrote these books 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
I write books and then I just totally don't want to see them ever again. Because, the amount of times that I have to edit them. Ooh, like I read the same stuff so much, like, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, this one. So the Mina poltergeist, from what I'm seeing, it looks like it involves a farmhouse.
Yeah, okay, that's not that one. But there is this other one. I think it's in Erie, Arkansas. But there is another light where it shows up in the middle of the forest. But you got to be careful.
Rich Mountain.
Might be that one. But you got to be careful because people have literally like walked into it by accident and disappeared. And I was like, okay, that's creepy.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I can't remember which one.
I wonder if that might be Mina. Let's see. located in northwest Arkansas along U.S. Highway 5971 and Route 8. Meaning it is strange occurrence on Rich Mountain. Pulled my car to the side of the road and carefully got out and called out to see if it was really someone, because one night he saw this glowing right across the highway in front of my car about 75 yards in front of me. It was during the summer, and I thought that maybe it was someone needing help on the side of the road. But it came down a steep bank and crossed in front of me and then went off the other side of the road in a place that no one could have walked down without killing themselves. I pulled my car to the side of the road and carefully got out and called out to see if it was really someone. When I didn't receive an answer, I got into my car and turned around to leave. A couple of weeks later, I found out a possible explanation for the ghostly light. Before the turn of the century, there was a family of settlers homesteaded a small farm on top of the Rich Mountain. At the time, there was a very few families on the mountain, and it was still a wilderness being settled little by little. During a long, cold Arkansas winter, the entire family of a young girl came down sick, and she was left to take care of her sick family by cooking and keeping the fire going for heat in their cabin. One evening, just before dark, the young girl went out into the wood to gather firewood for the cabin. While she was outside, a pack of wolves chased her up a tall pine tree with nothing but a small kerosene lantern for a light. All night, she waited for the wolves to leave. Sometime during the night, she died from the freezing cold. The next morning, her family discovered her frozen body up in the tree. That's sad. According to the story, she is buried in a small pioneer cemetery not far from where her family's cabin once stood. And then the ghost light is supposedly this young girl trying to find her sick family so she can take care of them. I have visited this girl's grave on the mountain at a little cemetery, and to the best of my knowledge, this is a true story. So what I just read, people, is from a book called Illuminating the Darkness, The Mystery of Spook Light by Dale Kazmarek. So, anyway, that's interesting and sad at the same time.
There's a lot of those kinds of stories around here, though.
Oh, totally. Huh. But that's scary, though. This thing that as you walk into it, you disappear? No, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's the dunes. I think it's the Beaver Dunes or something like that. I don't remember. But anyway, it's in Erie, Arkansas. But that one was creepy, too, because it's like literally people that have disappeared that they've never seen again. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you.
That's what I said.
You know what? Going back real quick, just thinking of this weird light and never coming out of it again or whatever. This podcast I also listened to had this guest on. It was an old trucker, and he talked about seeing this cube-shaped object in the sky. And according to his encounter of the story, he was mind spoken to, and this thing, because I don't know what it was, and it sounds like he doesn't really know either what was really talking to him, but it basically were trying to tell him that he needs to come closer to this cube in the sky, and it was going to take him somewhere.
Ooh. I was like, I hope he has a cat, because I just saw a tail go across the computer.
Yeah, this is my cat who always has to check on me when I do podcasts. So, his name is Ryder.
Oh, hi.
He's a good boy when he wants to be. So, but yeah, that's another weird story I can give you to tie this all in. But I guess, Heather, when it comes to like these spook lights, I don't know how much really you've done digging, but I mean, I guess out of your opinions or theories or even going out into the field, like, have you come across anything of like, do you believe that these are actually ghost lights of deceased people, or could they actually literally be something more? Because I mean, I know we can always go into, and you kind of brought it up at the beginning when we were talking about the last topic, which was, fairies. So could it be fairy lights or, yeah.
I don't know, and I've thought about that too because there are so many instances of it happening. Like when you just look up spook light, there's so many that come up all over the United States and other places too. It's not just here. I don't know what it is. Like when I was reading about people trying to debunk it and they're like, oh, it's energy from the ground. It's this, it's that, it's car lights, just reflections. It's just how things work. And I'm like, okay, cool. But I've seen other kinds of lights like that. You know what I mean? Like maybe not a spook light per se, but I've seen these balls of light that literally just kind of float. And I've seen them in more than one place. And I don't know what they are, how they show up, but they're very visible. It's not like, oh, you have to be like psychic or something to see them. You just have to be paying attention. And it's usually everybody that sees them, not just me. You know what I mean? It's like, what is that light? What is that? And
You're not thinking like a ball of lightning, are you? Which is another rare phenomena to see.
No, these are like balls and they just sort of float and they kind of bounce. They disappear. And I know. And I've seen them in more than one place. And I've talked to other people about it. They're like, oh yeah, we call them fairy lights, but they're not fairy lights.
They're just not fairy lights.
Yeah, they're just little balls of light and they just sort of bounce around. And then there's stories that I hear from the East Coast, not so much here, but on the East Coast, you're not supposed to follow them.
Yep.
Because they literally, you fall over the edge of something.
Yeah. Yeah, which is like oh my God, would that be like almost like the Brown Mountain lights? Is that what I'm maybe thinking?
Brown Mountain lights are interesting too because some people say they're UFOs, but other people just see them. And they're like clockwork too. You literally there's like this little area you can pull off and then they show up.
Yep.
So I don't know. But like same with the Joplin light. It's like clockwork. Like I forget what time it is. I know it's close to 1 a.m, but it's like clockwork. People just go and sit there and wait.
And they see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of the Joplin light, yeah, Dale showed me this amazing picture of the Joplin light that I don't think, as I remember right, he didn't capture it. It was the photographer that was there for the Joplin Globe, if I remember right. But it's a beautiful picture where it showed the spook light almost like it has a tail. It's very cool.
And they just show up, and that's the thing. And I don't know what it is. I've heard the stories. There's tons of stories around. Most of them have to do with miners.
Yes.
And yeah. And, they're the miners that have died in the areas and they have their lights and they're trying to find their way home, stuff like that. There is one, I can't remember which book it's in, but there is a weird story about a Native American warrior, like chief, whose daughter had her head decapitated. And he's like looking around for it and some say that the light is her head, and others say the light is the lamp that they used. But
wow,
it was a weird one too. But there's always like these mythological lore around it, like I said, with the Native Americans or the miners. But I mean, I think to say, oh, it's just a reflection, I think that's just kind of like giving up. Sure.
Well,
okay.
That's like, yeah. Well, that's like, North Carolina or South Carolina. God darn it. I'm going to screw it up. Anyway.
North Carolina, I believe.
Yeah. I know the brown light is there, but the one that I'm thinking of, oh my God. I just talked about it with Dale again. Why am I screwing up his thing? I guess because there's too many. Anyway, so there's one in South Carolina. I think that now that I think about it, this is the South Carolina one, maybe, for all I know. Anyway, it involved like a conductor that had
Mm,
his head cut off in the railroad, which reminds me of
yes.
the one that I learned about in British Columbia from the Waterfront Center, which is pretty much the same thing, where this guy was in a hurry. The train tracks were slippery that night. He fell, and the oncoming train basically just decapitated him.
That one is in Oklahoma too. There's a story like that in
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Okay. Maybe there's, yeah, well,
But
yeah, of course there
there's
is.
a couple of those stories though. So I know there's one in Oklahoma I found, but when I was looking that one up, I found like 2 or 3 of the same story in other states, which I thought
Yeah,
was interesting how that works out.
I don't know. But then again, I guess every time we see railroad tracks, I guess that's the first thing that comes to mind, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just off with their heads, unfortunately. I don't know. I don't know what to say to that one. It's like every state had one, which is crybaby bridges, you know? We always
Yeah,
have a crybaby bridge.
there's 2 or
So
3 here. And
yeah, we got one here as far as I'm aware.
there's always the Cranberry Bridge, and there's always the lady in white that is a hitchhiker. Doesn't matter where you go, there's always one.
I can think of 2 here for lady in white hitchhikers. So yeah.
Yeah, everywhere. There's always the hitchhiker, and then if you go into a haunted hotel, you're sure to have a lady in the white up on the stairs. Always. There's always a story about that, and there's always kids with balls. Second floor never fails.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's I know we have a haunted hotel. I don't really know how much is true of that anymore because I don't know about you, Heather, but like if you were to ask me when I started this this journey to really start to collect stories and stuff 10 years ago, we'll just say it was a different vibe back then. It was like people kind of wanted to talk about it, and nowadays it's like it's almost like if you try to ask about it, it's the opposite. It's like they don't want that reputation anymore. At least some, but now for like my state, it's totally much harder.
Huh. You would think it'd be the opposite.
You would think so too, but like um, there was a book that came out last year. I just don't want to say the name of it just because of I just don't want people to freak out about it or whatever. But I actually messaged this author about that. And she kind of was just like, I don't want to say giving me a whip about it, but because I know with most authors they do reach out to places to see if they want to be included into the book, but like if it happened like in the same case as me, I never even heard back from this same place. But which is interesting. There's a place I forget where the name of it is, but let's just say it has the word ghost in the hotel, motel, whatever you want to call it. But they meant a fishing lure. I probably already gave the name away for probably locals around here. But anyway, this is funny because this specific hotel, I guess, have been asked plenty of times, possibly because of the fact they probably had the word ghost in it, their name, if it's actually haunted and has ghosts there. Where before you even contact them, there's a thing at the bottom that basically says, if you are trying to contact us to ask us about if we are haunted, stop now because no, we do not.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, I know I'm one of those people. I stopped emailing hotels and stuff when I write about them. I stopped because they always want to like have like the official stories, and I'd rather just go there and find out myself. I'm one of those people because I don't want the official stories. If I want the official stories, I'll just go to your website and I'll write them verbatim. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
cool, thanks. And that's always what you get.
Yep.
The 5 ghosts that are there, and that's the end of it. So I don't even bother anymore. Usually I just go there
and feel it out for yourself.
and then I figure it out, and it's usually like, wait a minute, I'm not experiencing anything that's on the website or any other investigator has talked about why. And then from there, I try to figure it out. Because again, and I talked about this before, I truly believe that like 90% of hauntings are thought forms. So knowing that energy and knowing that's what's probably going to be the most obvious energy, I kind of just push it aside and be like, I don't need any of that crap. And then I just kind of go with what I'm feeling after that. Because the minute that you tell me that there is a specific ghost in a specific place, I'm gonna immediately wonder how many people have investigated there and how that story ended up there. And if I can't find any kind of resource beyond investigators, then I know that it's probably a thought form. I mean, we went to the Stone Lion Inn just recently. That's in Oklahoma, but it's in Guthrie, Oklahoma. We went there, and I wrote about it in one of my books, like Think Erie, Oklahoma. But I couldn't go in because they had a party there, and I wasn't able to like stay there. So I wrote about the ghost stories that were already there. Now I want to retract it because I wasn't able to actually go there. But I did have an interesting experience there that nobody else had, and I was like, why am I experiencing this? And so I wrote about that too. I said, I saw this thing in the window, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I don't know where this came from. But when I went there, just on a whim, my sister got married and had her reception there. And I was like, oh, this is great. I finally get to go. But of course, we had some experiences there because we had the whole place to ourselves, and everyone was like, are you going to investigate? And I'm like, hell yeah, I am. So I brought on my equipment. I'm like, let's do this. So we did it because there was nobody there. And we had none of the experiences that were on the website, of course. And so then we really did. I had some people, I mean, we went through all the archives. We were trying to find these stories, and we found out that like every single ghost there that I hate to break, I hate to say this, but every ghost there was made up. Not one story was an actual real person. Not one. And then if you go back and you look at the history of the place, all the stories that you hear about are from the woman who used to own it, had investigators go through there and have them tell their stories. And then those became the stories of the place. And I was like, this is nuts. This is nuts. Like not one person that they say lived there. When you go into the history of the place. So I don't know. I mean, can you interact with those ghosts? Sure you can. Obviously they're there. They're thought forms. You can totally have your experience with all the little kids that never lived there.
I'm kind of glad that you brought that up because you know what? This would be perfect for what you were saying. So everybody knows the TV show, the ghost show, I should say, Kindred Spirit with Amy Bruni and Adam Berry. If you're not familiar with all their episodes, I highly recommend to check out season 5, episode 2, which is entitled Zombie Boy. And this works out perfect to what you're saying because Amy and Adam did the same, or did a experiment of writing out this whole new entity, gave them its own backstory and everything, and put it in, and kind of like as you were saying earlier on again, which I will counteract to that, is manifesting ourselves, our own phenomena, which I am starting to get into that too myself, where I actually have a book called something to the effect of like we are the supernatural or something like that. Anyway, but yeah, that episode works perfectly to what you're saying.
Yeah, you can create your own thought form. We actually did. I mean, I have it's a long time ago. I did an experiment called the Pearl Experiment.
I'm sorry, the what?
Pearl Experiment, almost 20 years ago now. It was in 2006 or 2007, so it was almost 20 years ago. But we literally intentionally created a thought form. We were working off of the Philip experiment, and we're like, okay, let's try. And so we went to a haunted location that we knew already had a ghost woman. And then we looked at the history of that place, and then we created our own ghost that had a similar history to all the other ghosts in the place. And then we told people about it. We did a ritual. We wrote it all down on paper. We did a ritual to animate her. And then I was in the newspaper a couple of times, and I talked about this ghost like it was a real thing. It was something that you can experience there. 14 months later, somebody sent us a picture of her. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we actually saw her. There were, I have the whole thing it's the pearlexperiment.com. I wrote out the whole thing with pictures and everything, and emails back and forth, and the whole process if somebody wants to, redo it again. But, one of the things that was interesting, though, is at the very last minute, I put her in a green dress, and it was something like just some off thing I said is like, well, if I said something like, well, if there's a picture of her, how are we going to know it's her? I'm like, well, we'll put her in a green dress. Just like off cuff. Last thing we said about her, the picture of her is of her wearing a green dress, and you can see her hair, everything. The funny thing is the person that had the picture had no idea we did it and didn't even know the ghosts of that hotel, and just happened to be on the Queen Mary and talked to one of the people that had did the ritual with me. And he emailed me and said, that's Pearl. And I was like, holy shit, it is. Then after that, people were talking about EVPs that they got of her. Yeah, all these things. And she's still a part of the hotel today. But what's even weirder is 10 years later or something, like I think it was in 2018, I think, something like that. We didn't know how to contact her, so we tried. Some of the people that were in the original group, we all got together and we're like, let's try to reestablish her, let's try to contact her. And she showed right up. And like started interacting with us. Yeah, and through table tipping, through knocking, through EVP. She set off one of the alarms in one of the hotels we were in. Just weird things. We're like, okay, yeah, it's her. It's specifically her. And so we did some experiments with her. And then towards the end, she was telling us that she wanted to become sentient. And I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm out. We're cutting this off. Because I don't know what to do with that. Like, she said that she wanted to inhabit somebody's body and she wanted to become sentient because she was tired of being a thought form and that she wanted to have the experience. And that's where I was like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I can't go any farther with this because we got to the point where we had put so much energy and other people have put so much energy into this thing because now it's part of that hotel that now we have something that wants to further its evolution. What do you do after that? So we did a ritual somewhere in there to be like, you can leave the hotel if you want. Like, you can go into the ether because we don't want you to be stuck. We created this thing, but we don't want you to be stuck. So we're allowing you to go into the ether. And then one of the things that people said that I thought was really interesting is some people in the group were like, she needs a feeding ground. If we're taking her out of the hotel, she needs a feeding ground because we aren't going to be able to feed her anymore. And, we don't want to just like leave her there in the ether. So we attached her to a very popular book series on purpose because people talk about this book series all the time. And so we're like, anytime somebody talks about this, we're giving her energy. So that way, if we ever need to contact her again, she'll be there, and that way we don't feel like she's stuck in like this void. Because I think we took it a little bit too seriously, but it was really weird because at the time we were doing all the experiments, all the time we were like contacting her. She would show up in the weirdest places. People, like, there was 5 of us in this group, and it would happen like consistently every day. We would hear the word Pearl all the time. We would see the name Pearl all the time. Like, we literally had a group chat of just pictures of things that had Pearl on them during that time. Because she was showing us so much, because she just really wanted to be seen. Every now and then it does happen. This was, like I said, this was like 2018, so that's like 8 years ago. I still, to this day, sometimes it'll just happen in groups too, where people will just start saying the name Pearl, and I'm always like, okay, she's just reminding me that she's there. Yeah, and it always happens in clusters too. Like, it'll be a whole bunch of things for a couple of days, and it'll just go away. Yeah.
That's not a coincidence or anything.
Yeah, it's weird too, because like I'm always like, do I say anything? What do I do? Like, because I don't want to
Right?
I don't want to give it too much energy because of that whole sentience thing. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I see you. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm right there with you. I wouldn't even know what to do with that, except for like what you said. Like, I'm done. Yep.
It's an area that I'm just not equipped to deal with, and I don't mean to screw off my own experiment, but I just wonder, like, how far can you take it?
And that's the scary thought. Yes.
Because like, if we were like, okay, we found somebody who you can mount that person and you could like channel through them, or they're allowing you to be in their body, like how far can you take that? That's just really, or even putting a thought form like that into a computer, if you can, making it an AI interface. You know what I mean? I know.
Yeah. There's, oh man. Yeah,
I know.
Nowadays, it's definitely like there's so many possibilities. Yeah, it's crazy. And with AI, oh goodness gracious, yeah. I mean, that's a whole different topic as well, but especially for this phenomenon, I mean,
yeah. So that's why I'm so like, it's a thought form because I know how easy it is to create one. And as soon as you start giving it energy, I mean, like I said,
that's it.
We didn't talk to her for 10 years, and within an hour, we had already had established contact. It was talking to us. It was moving stuff around. It was knocking. It wasn't like, I'm here. It was like, thump, thump, thump. I'm here. I'm like, okay, all right. Like, the minute that you start interacting with it, it becomes alive again. So.
Yeah, like an animated object or reanimate. Man, I'm trying to think here.
I laugh when I like Schrodinger's ghost. Like, is it there because I'm interacting with it, or you know what I mean? Like, is it?
No, yeah, I totally get it. It makes me wonder, like, if you weren't acting with it, or interacting with it, would it still try to do something?
Right, but it doesn't seem to be. It only seems to interact when people interact with it. It's like it there has to be that symbiotic relationship, which I thought was very interesting, because like,
where
does it go? Does it just, it's somewhere in the ether, it's just waiting. Like me talking about it right now, I don't talk about it a lot, because me talking right now, I know in the next few days, I know
that's feeding it. Yeah, that's feeding it.
I'm going to start seeing Pearl again. I know it. So that's why I put it on the website. If everybody wants to look at it, they can. But like, I don't usually go and talk about it, because I have now.
Understandable. Yeah. I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird phenomenon.
It totally is. That's why I wanted to bring it up about that kindred spirit episode, because that's exactly what this reminds me of. And just like, I mean, there's a theory here for going back to like the Crybaby Bridge segment thing that I was just mentioning, where every state has one. To put this lady here, is supposedly the one trying to say that she's the one that started all this. That she went to that bridge that night, tried to do like a seance thing with a Ouija board and this and that, and that's how this crybaby bridge got its entity per se. Now I've been there personally, and we have captured stuff for sure. But when we went there, our intention was just mainly to just see if we could catch something. We didn't just flat out say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go there and this is what we're gonna capture." We initially wanted the environment, location, however you want to look at that, to basically present itself to us if it wanted to be seen, I guess, for lack of word in here. Because I mean, I could also say, just to add to that example, would be like we have a haunted castle here called Wilson Castle. Now I've been there twice. The first time was an amazing experience. I'll never forget the first time ever. But the second time I went there, it was quieter than the first time. I don't know why. I just know it was. And I took note of that. That goes back to, I guess I could, in a weird way, say I'm calling out the people that basically say, well, if you go there once and don't catch anything, it can't be haunted. It's like, no. You can go back there multiple times. It's like, it's like the science. You got to repeat it and see if what changes, or to keep repeating, then you found the conclusion, basically. Like, every place is not just gonna be active all the time. Kind of like going back to the entity that you're talking about. So, I mean, it's not always gonna appear unless we make it appear, basically.
Right. You never know. There's always like it's a cocktail. You know what I mean? Like certain people, like I know when I go investigate with certain people, something's going to happen. It's just because I don't know why, they just have that thing that make things happen. And then sometimes with other people, I'm like, okay, it's probably not going to happen because this person is here. And I don't know what it is. Certain people just interact.
Yeah, they just click. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and that was one thing I was wondering, if it was because of the certain people that was with us the second time around for Wilson Castle, if that's why it was quiet. The other thing I was wondering if it involved like not just the weather wise, but like the moon phase. Cause like one joke that I used to say too when I used to run the paranormal group with two other friends of mine, we should have just called ourselves the full moon investigators, because we would always just go out during a full moon, because I don't know why. It was just like, it was more beautiful at night or something with the full moon. Plus you could see, sort of. So, I don't know. But yeah. But yeah, to wrap things up, Heather, is there anything that you would like to, I guess, talk about that I didn't give you a chance to on either subject that we kind of touched on?
No, I mean, it's good. Yeah, I talked about things I didn't expect to talk about. So, I mean,
I don't know if that's good or bad, but either way, I enjoyed the conversation.
I just talk about, like, you know what I mean? When you have your own podcast, you just talk about whatever happens. It's like, well, that's where the conversation is going to go. So, like, I don't really prepare, because I'm like, well, that's what people need to hear right now. So,
yeah, I don't really prepare either. I just kind of go in, because you just never know where we're going to go. So, but yeah, Heather, before I do let you go, is there anything that I can, besides your podcast again, what is it again? How do you pronounce it?
NVUS Alien.
Thank you. And where can you find that? Everywhere, like a podcast?
Everywhere, Spotify. It's everywhere. It's on Spreaker. It's wherever you find your podcast, I'm sure it's there. I put it everywhere. Yeah.
And what are you working on now? Are you working on anything for the upcoming new year?
Yes, I am. I'm doing a documentary of all the places of the phenomena we were talking about in the very beginning. I've been, putting together footage for the last 5 years, and I'm like, do I write another book or do I do this documentary? And I'm like, nope, I'm going to do the documentary. So I'm putting aside books for this year, and I'm gonna do the documentary, and I have a few places to travel because I'm finding that the phenomenon is more. It happened more than I thought it did, and so now I have to go back to these places and like reconstruct it. So it's been interesting, but that's kind of my obsession right now. Is like, why is this happening, and what's the phenomenon? And let me go down that rabbit hole. So luckily, my sister is a video editor, and she works in film. So she's been very, very helpful in like, you're going to learn how to edit. So there's been a learning curve, but she's like, if you can write a book, you can do a documentary, because she's like, if you know story arc, that's all you need. Like, figure out how to use the figure out how to use the equipment, figure out how to edit, and you can create that. And I was like, okay, I can do it that way. She's like, just show, not tell. I'm like, I know, I'm so used to telling, because books you have to tell, but she's like, no, it's a video book. I'm like, okay. So she's been helping me with it, which is very generous of her to do that, take her time. So probably obligated to her forever now. But yeah, that's what I'm working on, and it's just a completely new experience, and we'll see where it goes.
Do we have an idea of when we could possibly see it? End of the year, probably.
60 years from now. No.
No.
No. I have to go back to some places, so it's probably going to be at least 6 months before I'm done, because I have to go do some traveling. And I'm traveling in February. I'm traveling in April. I might have to go to the East Coast. I'm hoping that I can convince some of my friends to do some videoing for me, but if not, that'd be one more trip that I have to do. So probably by the end of the year.
Yep, that sounds fair. Yeah, you might have to go back to Massachusetts from the sound of it. So
I know, right? Damn it.
Oh man. It's not part of the Bridgewater Triangle, is it? Dun dun dun.
It is actually. How do you know that?
Oh boy.
It's the tip.
I don't know how I knew that, but that was just a wild coincidence right there.
Yeah, it is. We were just talking about that because my friend who used to live, well, he goes back and forth, but from Florida to there, but he was like, it's part of the triangle. I'm like, it's not part of the triangle. He's like, it is. And I'm like, oh, God damn it.
Oh, no.
Oh, and he's like, it is. And I'm like, oh, okay, that just makes it even more weird.
Yeah, that whole area is just another place that had fascinated me for years again, too. So, yeah. So that's why I guess coincidentally hit it. So good.
Yeah, I was surprised that you know about that, because he was telling me about it, and I was like, oh no, okay.
Well, there's there's an old documentary too, the Bridgewater Triangle documentary that was 2012, 13. Oh God, I'm gonna butcher that too. I know it's quite old though. But I don't know if they mentioned the area on that one, but the more you just look into it, I mean, that's why when I hear Massachusetts now and paranormal, first thing I think of is Bridgewater Triangle. So.
Not a lot of people know about that, and yeah, just where it is it's very strange. All the stuff that it's, because he started telling me about the history, and I was like, oh no.
Oh yeah,
we have a haunted hotspot here. Damn. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we have one in southern Vermont where I am. We call it the local author dubbed it the Bennington Triangle, but that to me, that hasn't been active since like the 1950s would be the last time I would say. But it's just there's definitely more than 5 disappearances that happen there, but yeah, it's just weird. That's another area where you hear about these strange spook lights, big possible Bigfoot, because they used to call it the Bennington Monster, You got the missing people into play. A bunch of UFOs over the mountain, and oh god, yeah, it goes on and on. So, yep. So there's that.
Those.
But all right,
Yeah.
Heather. Yeah, exactly. So I guess for the last question that I have for you, and then we can just wrap it up, which is if people wanted to keep up with all your latest works and get a hold of you for tarot readings or whatever, where can people contact you?
I think it's my website. Okay. I think so you can either go to nvusalien.com. It's my contact info is there, or it's heatherashera.com. Ashera is my tarot name, that's why it's that way. But it's so it's ashera.com. But anyway, yeah, you can go there. My books are there. Everything is there. But yeah, those are the two places.
Yeah, perfect. Well, Heather, if you ever want to talk about the strange world of this paranormal thing, just give me a shout, and I will gladly have you on again, because it was nice to chat with you about this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for contacting me. This was fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, like I said, I mean, Acadia Publishing gave me your book, and I'm just like spook light, and then I saw the haunted horror part, and I'm like reading, and I'm like, is this Dogman? Like, what the hell? So yeah, it was definitely fun. Yeah, I'll have to check out your other work too, because funny enough, speaking of Ghost Town, the southern Vermont area, Glastonbury, where all this strange disappearances and stuff happened, that used to be a logging town. Then they cut out all the trees, so there were no more trees left. So then, because they had all this stuff there, they decided that they're going to try to turn it into a casino. That failed. That ended up getting flooded away a year into it. And it's pretty much just been foundations ever since. But the trolley tracks are not there anymore. However, the rail yard spikes still exist in the woods.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we got like 7 mines or caves around the area, and a hidden cemetery in the woods. So
Hidden cemetery in the woods, you say?
Yep.
Have you been there?
I have.
Anything happened there?
Can't really say, except like not the cemetery itself, but the woods themselves. There's something going on in that woods, like a vortex or something. Because last time I went there, which was last year, for some reason it took me 5.5 hours to find the graves, and I had walked past them originally.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain that one. And then when I tried to use my GPS were taking me in a whole different direction and not the way I was supposed to be going.
Whoa, okay. So there's something.
Yeah, there's something going on there.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever see a dark figure there, let me know.
A dark figure? God, I hope not. But all right, Heather, and for everybody else that have stayed this long about this great conversation that Heather and I have done here, well, I guess let's just end it like I usually do, but this time with a twist, right? So we'll say, all right, listeners, this time when you go out to the woods, keep your eyes open, because you just never know if a tall man is going to be right in front of your face. Good night, everybody.